So good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope that everybody is safe and in good health. My name is Alexandre Fontoura, and I am the one who will stay with you in the next 30 minutes, trying to pass on some general information about the 2021 soybean and corn crops in Latin America and the risk we may face in the coming months. Okay. I would ask everyone to switch off your cameras and microphones during the presentation so that we do not have any problems during the transmission or during our conversation, okay? And at the end of the presentation, I hope we have some time for questions and answers. So by the end of the presentation, you can open we can switch on your microphones and we can talk a little bit about. Anyway, if you want to send any questions via chat too, it can be easier, I think, okay? And can save our time allowing you to go on to other presentation in our Global Grain event, okay? So welcome aboard, okay? Just to introduce myself, again, I am Alexandre, I am agronomist, okay? And I did business administration as well. I have more than 35 years experience in agribusiness in Brazil, leading TIC companies, okay? And has joined Cotecna Brazil mid of this year to lead the company and our Brazilian operations mainly in agribusiness sector, okay? I think that's all of you know, but Cotecna is a leading company provider testing, inspection, and certification services. We offer solutions to facilitate trade and make supply chain safer and more efficient to our customers. Our technical expertise combined with the superior quality of our services and our ability to anticipate our customers' needs is what sets us apart. So just to give you more information about Cotecna, we were founded in 1974 in Switzerland, and we started off as a family business and has grown to become the world-class international player with more than 100 offices in across approximately 50 countries. So today, our trusted network of professionals and certified laboratories apply industry-approved standards and provide proven expertise to help clients across our 4 key sectors, which means agri, food safety, metals and minerals, and governmental contracts. Okay, so this is just a brief presentation of who we are, and let me share with you our presentation right now. Okay, I hope that you can join and let's start talking about business. Okay, I'll try to summarize what's gonna happen in corn and soybean market in Latin American countries. Okay, it's a short time to talk about these 2 big themes. You know, I think that I'll try to brief everything, bringing some information about production and what we expect to happen, and what is the predictions, you know, for the next months in Latin American countries. So talking about a little bit about corn, let's start with corn. I'm just wanted to show you the corn production. Let's compare here the 1920 crop with 2021 crop. This is the production graphic. We can see that we have Brazil with 102 million tons in the current year, and we are expecting to go to almost 105 million tons of production. Argentina produced around 51.5 million tons of corn, and we are expecting to have a slight reduction to 47 million tons, and I'll explain it later on. And Paraguay is gonna stay stable with the production, achieving the numbers of 3.5 million tons. So the sowing of corn for summer season, the first crop here in Brazil, I don't know if you know that, but we have 3 crops in corn in Brazil. You know, we have the summer crop, the winter crop, and we have a very small crop between the winter and the summer crop as well. So regarding summer crop that we are planting right now here in Brazil, it's in progress, okay, especially in the center south of Brazil. But the climatic conditions have presented important oscillations here, And the dynamics as well as the pace of planting operations are changed according to the meteorological prognosis. Okay, I think that all you know, and all of you are aware about that. We are facing exactly the La Nina effect in Latin American countries, and this brings a lot of changes in the weather conditions. Okay, so in some areas, mainly in the center west, the climate has been dry, okay, and with low humidity in the soils, making cultivation and the planting more difficult in these regions. Okay? In the south is the opposite. Okay, in Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, and Paraná states, the rains are occurring with greater intensity and regularity, helping to soil water accumulation. So, according to experts, the estimates for corn in this season 2021 is around 18.5 million hectares, with a total production of 105 million tons approximately, as it's shown in the graphic. Okay, so this is the expectations in terms of area and production in Brazil for 2021. In Argentina, the corn does not give in to uncertainty and continues to reach 7 million hectares in terms of planting area. Some years ago, given this climate scenario, there would have been a very important change from hectares of corn to soybeans. So, however, corn remains firm in 2021 with a sowing that would barely be 3% lower than last year, approximately, recalling that in the past cycle, the sowing of corn set a record. So Argentina will keep very firmly in this corn market next year. This way, the projection of the commercial corn volumes remain in a volume of 47 million tons, but this year, the role will be played by the late plantings, okay? The drought is also affecting the corn season and threatens the fields that were recently planted and need rains to ensure the growth of the plants, okay? The advance of the planting has reached around 40% of the national area in Argentina. And according to the corn experts, the production will be around 47 million tons in 2021. Okay, in Paraguay, what we can see is that the pandemic affected several sectors in Paraguayan economy activity, added to the phenomenon known as La Nina, as I explained to you, which brings with an imminent drought due to the absence of rain, and which would have consequences on the cultivation on corn crop. Drought is affecting the summer crop and is delaying the planting. This is something that we're gonna expect some effects at the end of the campaign. So that can be estimated that probably the corn crop will be reduced, okay, if the drought projections are met. Okay, so these are the projections for the production in these three countries, which are the main countries in this business. Okay. Talking about the corn exports estimates, we think that Brazil is gonna increase the exports from 34.5 million tons that we have achieved this year to 39 million tons in the next year. And Argentina will drop a little bit due to this reduction in terms of area that we are expecting. So probably they're gonna reduce the production as well. So we're gonna go from 39.9 million tons to 34 million tons. So there's a gap between 5 million tons in terms of exports. And Paraguayan is gonna increase a little bit the shares in terms of exports. So we're gonna go from 2 million tons to 2.5 million tons. So the corn market is expected to continue expanding in 2021 due to the expectation of increased exports, as well as the resuming of the demand of corn, ethanol, and sustained demand for animal feed. This is another very important point. Oh, sorry. The technical studies predict a reduction in 0.8% in national average productivity due to the La Nina effect. This is a very important point that we have to mention, and probably it's going to be very well explored during the seminar. Okay, as I said, and probably all of you know, the occurrence of this climatic event in the Pacific Ocean may impact the productivity of the second crop corn, as this phenomenon may delay the arrival of rains in the center, in the center, west, and south regions in Brazil. Okay. In Argentina, the general economic environment, it's not helping. This is something that we have to mention here during the presentation, okay? And the present spread between the official exchange rate and the parallel market reached levels not seen in recent times. It's around over 120%. So this only explains partially why the farmers are not selling the remaining stocks. So this is something that we have to be aware, mainly due to the quality conditions that the corn is going to be presented in the next months for the market. Okay, so the present uncertainties are so important and heavy that everybody is totally focused on the very short term, but there's a consensus that the nearby prospects are heading to a rough and difficult scenario. This is very important also to mention. Talking about Paraguay, we will have to wait and see what's going to happen in Paraguayan market. Okay, not forget that this season we have a similar weather condition as the previous year with a very low rainfall, okay, due to the La Nina, as I said. It's necessary that the predicted rains occur in order to be able to make projections, because it's still too early to affirm anything in the Paraguayan market, okay? So the planting of the season has not been so significant yet, but it's hard to predict any scenario for Paraguayan corn crop right now. But I think that we're going to have a good crop as well. Well, talking about quality results, corn quality results, what we've seen is that the crop exported in 2020 did not present any quality problems in corn grains. Okay, as you can see here in the graphic, the foreign matters in Brazil was around 0.7%, and total damage is around 2.4, 2.5%, with an hectoliter weight of 75 kilos per hectoliter, which is a good result. It's an average good result. And in Argentina was much better. We have around 0.21% in terms of foreign matters and 2% in terms of total damage beans, total damage grains in corn. Okay, and with hectoliter weight about 75 kilos per hectoliter. Okay, although the graining standard between Brazil and Argentina are not the same, by the way, the results obtained were within the expected of foreign matters and total damage grain and test weight. Okay, the total damage in Brazil are composed by grains or part of grains that have one of these damage: burned, heat, mold, fermented, shrink, immature, damage by insects or sprouted. Okay, and the total damage in Argentina comprehends some difference in comparison with Brazilian standards. Okay, according to Senasa, which is the authorities that regulates the standards for the classification of corn in Argentina, the grains or part of grains that have one of these damage, like sprouted, fermented, rot, calcined, and green mold, it's considered total damage. So there are a difference between the classifications of corn in Brazil and Argentina, but the point is that to the international standards, to the international trading companies, the quality of the goods during this year was really good due to the weather conditions during the harvesting period. So it was a very good year in terms of quality. For us as a from the tick setter, it was a very smooth year for us, okay? Talking about mycotoxin, which is a big issue right now, the 2020 corn exports began with a big doubt this year, due to the possibility of increasing of mycotoxins level in grains, especially in Brazil, because there was some remaining stock levels of corn from the previous season, and that it was mixed with the new ones, and some of the regions had some rains during the harvesting period. So this called us the attention, and we were aware about that. But at the beginning of the harvest, it was being considered to be like what it was observed in 2016 and 2017. I think that who passed through these seasons remember that it was a very tough year in terms of mycotoxin, and we have several cases of high mycotoxins levels in the exports from Brazil and from Argentina at that time. We thought that it was we were repeating. We're gonna repeat this in 2020, but it was not. Thank God, it was not. As we can see in the slide here, Brazil and Argentina results were below the limit established by Codex and EU regulations. Okay, just to remember you, the Codex develops international standards relating to the maximum levels of a certain substances in foods, such as food additives, contaminants, and other substances. However, these limits can still differ from country to country due to the different dietary patterns, environmental conditions, and national practices. Okay, the Codex standards, on the other hand, sets a maximum levels for contaminants and natural toxins, such as aflatoxins in foods, and are the reference for the international trade in food. Okay, so that the consumers everywhere can be confident that the foods they will purchase the food they purchase meets agreed standards for safety and quality, no matter where it was produced. Okay, and in Brazil specifically, ANEC contract, which is a national association, create some limits and create some regulations for the aflatoxins as well, that we called total aflatoxins B1, B2, G1, and G2, with a maximum of 20 ppb parts per billion. Okay, and this is a test being done by chromatographs, and Cotecna, we can support you if you are interested to do with us. Okay, so here is just to illustrate you, this food contamination has been treated with greater seriousness by importing countries, with the maximum residues levels, MRL, regulations for food, including corn, and this has been generating great care with the Latin agricultural sector. This is a point that everybody is being aware in the last years in Brazil and Argentina. So this is just to show you the regulations that we have in the market. Okay. Well, another point that is very important to talk about is regarding the pesticides levels. Okay, historically there has been no significant occurrence of pesticides residues above the maximum residual level established by the importing country from Latin America. Okay, so it was a very good year. 2020 was a very good year, but we faced some few vessels where we could check some contaminations with chlorpyrifos and pyrimidine methyl. Someone is helping me here beside me. Okay, pyrimidine methyl and chlorpyrifos. Okay, so but we're gonna talk this later on. But the important point is that since the maximum residual levels reductions occurred recently by importing countries for the main agrochemical used in agricultural products in LATAM, internal measures have been taken to reduce the possibility of grains with pesticide residues above this maximum residual level allowed by the importing country. Okay, so beginning of this year, our Ministry of Agriculture here in Brazil started to control multi-residual pesticides from the beginning of the chain to the depart report terminals. Okay, so from the field to the port, where it is requested periodic analysis of the lots received and shipped in order to detect deviations from the legislation due to the inappropriate usage of agrochemicals, especially regarding the safety interval. So this is something that we are taking care, and we are looking very closely for this issue here, mainly with these two pesticides as we cite here, the pyrimidine and chlorpyrifos. Pyrimidine is used by stored pest control. You know, we can use this in the fields, but it's very well used together with the fumigation process here to control stored pests like moths and beetles in the cargos. And chlorpyrifos, it's very used for the pest control in the fields. So they used to apply sometimes very close to the harvesting period, and they are not respecting the safety interval. So this is something that is calling us the attention for the next season. Okay. Well, talking about soybean, Soybean, how it gonna be the behavior of this market? With the good results obtained in the last crops, as well as with an attractive market conditions for the commercialization of the grains, the expectation for 2021 is for continued growth in the planted area, with an estimated increase of 3.5% in comparison with the previous crop, reaching 38.2 million hectares planted in Brazil. So it's gonna be a record season again. Okay, we're gonna achieve another big number here in Brazil, and we're gonna be the #1 again in terms of production. It's expected to achieve around 134.9 million tons of production. And in Argentina, it's expected to achieve around 46.8 million tons. And for Paraguay, we're gonna achieve almost the same numbers that we achieved last year, the previous year, which are gonna be around 10 million tons, okay? But even with all the difficulties faced during the planting period that we are passing through right now, the expectations remains optimistic for the performance of the crop, supported by strong Chinese demand. This is something that is supporting the planting. Then this is making us in a favorable exchange rates and price at a good level, creating a scenario that where producers will be able to invest more in the technological package and better care in the conduction and management of the crops. So this is something that we are facing in the next months in these countries. Okay. For the estimations of exports, we think that Brazil gonna go from 81 to 85 million tons, creating a new record in terms of exports. Okay, and this is motivated by the strong Chinese demand and the exchange rates as well. You know, the devaluation of real in comparison with the dollar, the US dollar in the last 12 months achieved here almost 45%, just to let you know. So this is stimulating a lot the exports in Brazil. And this happens as well in Argentina. In Argentina, as I mentioned, the economics are a little bit difficult to manage. And the country will increase the soybean sales to China as well, according to the Argentinian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay, China is the main destination for Argentina exports right now. And according to the official data in that country, last year, the Asian country purchased around 80 to 85% of this oilseed exported by Argentina. So just Argentina and Brazil are very dependent in the Chinese market, the next crops. You know, regarding the Paraguayan market, if the yields of the previous crop are repeated, you know, will be repeated, soybean production will be one of the pillars of the country's economic recuperation. Based on the Banco Central del Paraguay, BCP data, soy exports represent around 28% of the total registered exports. In relation to the markets, Argentina is the main destination for the Paraguayan soybean exports, with 77% of the total exports, followed by Brazil, which is buying around 10% of Paraguayan soybean. Okay, there's a tendency to increase the oil seeds exports to Brazil due to the recent reduction of the import rates to zero, defined in October 2020. This was a very important change in the legislations between these two countries. So this is gonna probably stimulate the export from Paraguay to Brazil in terms of soybean, and the soybean will probably gonna be delivered from the Brazilian ports to worldwide. The grading, talking about grading, the quality of soybeans observed throughout this year reflects good practice in both in the field and the storage system for the LATAM countries. So you can see here foreign matters with a very low level, and total damaged beans also with very low, under the limits, okay, or let's say below the limits of the international trade. Brazil has achieved around 6%. The great variation occurred with the damaged grains, and mainly to the different grading standard applied between the countries like Argentina and Brazil. You know, this is something that we have to mention here to you. Brazil considers immature shrinklet damaged by insects picket, okay, that is not being considered in the Argentinian standards. So that's why the differences between Argentina and Brazil are very high here in terms of results. But even with these differences, the average results are within an appropriate limit during the loading operations of cargo. So we didn't see any big issues in this crop. Thank God. The quality, until the end of 1990s, Brazil easily produced soy meal with 14% of protein, and in some regions, the meal with around 48%. Due to the drop in the quality of the raw material, these levels of protein in the brand are no longer easily achieved. Okay, this is something related to the genetical improvements of the cultivar that is being planted here in Brazil. They are just looking at the productivity, not as looking at the quality of the goods. And since this market is being leaded by you sell the products according to the weight, not according to the quality, it's difficult to change a little bit this kind of situation. People used to find out more cultivars by producing more and more without thinking about protein contents or oil contents. And this is related to the photoperiodism of the plants. Soybean has it's a very sensitive plant in terms of photoperiodism. So if you have more light during the day, you can have more protein in the grain. So this is a close relation between, this is a technical point, but it's important to mention to you. Okay, so in the center west of Brazil, where we have more light during the day, we have more protein at the end of the day in the grain. If you go to the south, less protein, as you can, if you compare, for example, the Argentinian soybean with the Brazilian soybean, you can see clearly the differences of protein contents. Okay, that's why this is explained by the photoperiodism in the plants. So here it's just an average, just confirming what we said here. You can see that during the last years, we can see a drop, a slight drop in terms of production of protein contents. And this is related with the genetical standard that we are creating right now in the market, you know, as I explained to you. And the risks regarding talking about the risks, as we have just 3-4 minutes more, the risk is the climate. Climate is the big risk that we're going to face in the next months. As I said to you, and probably this is going to be very well explored during this conference, we are facing right now the La Niña effect here, which means dry period in some regions in the south of the Latin American countries like Argentina and Paraguay, and a lot of rains in the center west to the northeast of Brazilian states. Okay, so and bringing some irregular rains in these regions. So this can be an issue in the next months. We have to follow this very closely in order to predict what's going to happen in terms of this crop. So this is a scenario, it's a prediction, it's a provision that we are facing. Look at the rains that we're gonna face in November and December. It's the blue color in the map, showing that in this center west region in Brazil, you're gonna have a lot of rains, and you have a drought period in the south. And mainly, if you go to Argentina, you're gonna see a very drought period, a very irregular condition in terms of rainfalls for the next months. So this is something that you have to be aware. This is going to be the big risk we're going to have in terms of production. I think the market is being very strong. We are short in terms of stocks. Probably the price is going to be keep the high level prices that we are facing right now. This is going to be discussed also in this event. I think that you have opportunities to discuss this later on with the other colleagues. But in terms of production here in South America, we face that probably La Nina can be one of the big issues that we're going to face in the next months. Okay, so with this message, I would like to thank you for your presence here, and well, I think we still have time for Q&A, or if you don't mind, you can send me an email. My email address is alexandre.fontoura@cotecnica.com.br. I will be happy to assist you whenever you want, or if you have any doubts or any questions, I'll be happy to answer you by email or by chat here. Okay, so thank you for your presence. I will open here my let's see if I can do it. Webinar here. I think now you can see me. Now, if you have any questions or comments, I'll be happy to hear you. Or if not, I'm gonna stop in 1 minute, and then you can join other presentations if you want. Okay.
Alexandre, I just wanted to come online and thank you very much for your excellent presentation, really interesting, a lot of detail in there. So thank you so much for all the work you've done, and obviously for supporting Global Grain Geneva Virtual this year. I don't see any questions on the chat, but I just wanted to remind the delegates, we've still got plenty of people watching, that you can contact any of our speakers, obviously including Alexandre, on the direct messaging system, and the platform will be open for some time after the event. And of course, we have recorded the session, so you'll also be able to watch it later. Usually it'll take us till the end of today, so probably tomorrow you'll be able to access that online.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for the attention of everyone. Sorry for my strong accent. Okay, I know that.
Absolutely no problem at all.
Hope that you have understood
very well
everything.
Done. Absolutely, very well done.
Okay.
And of course, you're very welcome to come back into the main auditorium and watch the rest of the sessions. They kicked off just a couple of minutes ago, so we look forward to seeing you later. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a nice day.
You too.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.